CIFR reported earnings this morning. That's why they started off the day green. I'm a little bit sus of those earnings. We're also going to look at areas for CleanSpark and Mara potential reversals. I'm also going to talk a little bit about RIOT. Let's get into it. So, CIFR this morning before market open, they reported earnings. They beat their revenue by 7.86%, and they had a surprise EPS of 200% more. I'm very suspicious of this. If you remember, Mara also had good earnings, and they beat it by this huge surprise beat here, but they fell 20% in response. CIFR, on the other hand, is going up 5% in response, and I do not report CIFR in relation to the old accounting method that caused Mara to actually post a loss of 2 cents instead of a gain of 70 some odd cents that they had. I don't see any talk of that old accounting method for this much, much smaller miner than Mara, leading me to believe that Mara potentially may be allegedly manipulated to a certain extent, and it has been falling ever since. It's still down today, almost 1%, fluctuating back and forth between 1% and slightly less than 1% right now. So I'm very suspicious of this. I don't like it. I'm going to look a little bit at the charts and see where these things might be turning around. It could be a big fake out before a breakout sort of scenario on those, but they reported earnings, and you come in here, Yahoo's all like, oh yeah, strong earnings, and it's all so good and great for CIFR. But when Mara reported 1,800% upside, they're like, oh, the old accounting methods say they actually lost money. I don't see anyone talking about that here. So I don't dislike CIFR or anything. I dislike this reporting. It seems as though they are selective about whether or not good earnings are good or not, and I do not like that. It just makes you a little more, I guess, understanding of a bit of the manipulation in the market, taking down the big dog, which is Mara in this case. So that's CIFR. That's what's going on. It's actually up 6%, even though the candle is red on the day. CIFR is actually not in a great spot. It's underneath the 200-day moving average. So unless it gets back above that, I'm really not bullish on it. And a lot of that is due to the Bitfury selling distribution of the shares, which is good in the long run, but in the short term may continue to show weakness as a result of that whole scenario that I've gone over before in the channel. Go ahead and watch those videos about CIFR if you want to know more about that specifically. So now we're going to look at CleanSpark and Mara. Where are they going to turn around? Where are they going to turn around? I've said it before, I'll say it again. CleanSpark needs to turn around right where it is. Like, there's a lot of support right here at this 1660, 1650 level. If it can hold this, it can turn around. Let me get rid of this downward channel. It's not really doing that anymore. So if it can hold this line of support here, where it currently is, fluctuating back and forth on, if it can hold it, it could go back up from here. Now, I want to see it start doing that. There were some comments in yesterday's video about how isn't this dip a perfect buying opportunity? And it might be, it's possible, and this is not financial advice nor a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever. But this dip could be. But before I'm going in on this dip harder than I already did on the initial dip after these 2 days here, and I'm still down 20%, I'm waiting for a bounce. I want to see it do one of these back here, right, where I get a kind of a weak candle like I'm getting here today, followed by get some follow through on another green candle. So I'll be back in around 18, maybe like 1780 or so. I get that little bounce back above this green ascending line here. That's when I'm saying this dip is recovering and I'm back in. Currently, where it is sitting right now, it is sitting on support, and it could potentially be a fantastic buying opportunity. However, you are taking risk when you buy at support, because if that support breaks, where's the next support? In this case, the next support, I don't know what this line is for. Oh, I think that's where I start losing money. The next support is down at $13. Do you want to lose over $3 immediately after buying a stock? Most people don't. So that would be why I think some people are holding off. They probably bought this initial dip like I did, where it was like down 17% a day, and we're like, oh man, that's awesome. And then it kept dipping another 10, 15%. And now it's a waiting game of, is this going to prove that it's strong enough to stay at this level and go up from here? Or is this support also going to break and I'm going to be, $3 more in the hole on my new shares? And I think that's the psychology playing out here, because $13 is absolutely in play until we get some bullish candles coming in on the daily here. And we'll look at my, yeah, right now this is actually about to look bearish. So you see this little green line about to cross over this yellow line. That's the 5 SMA crossing over the 15 SMA. If it crosses below it, that is going to show some bearish momentum, meaning that we could be pulling into that $13 level down here in the next week or two before going back up. That doesn't mean we're never going to go back up, but it does mean that there is a good chance we are going to see weakness before strength going into this. Just like back here, where I have my little, you see my little red arrow right here, right? Green crossed under the yellow, and we saw about a week or two of weakness, and then we came up, scooped up some liquidity, and went on our way up. We could be doing that type of move right now. You can see the green's going to come under the yellow. It stays under there for a day or two. We're probably going to move on to 13, which is where that support is, which is the previous high. And if we bounce there, we could start scooping liquidity and make this previous high back here and just dwarf that previous high back there. So that's the idea. That's, I think, why people are holding off right now. They're waiting to see if this is going to bounce or if we're going to go to that next level of support, build liquidity, and then move back up from there. So that's an excellent question. Is it a fantastic buying opportunity? And the answer is maybe. The answer is maybe, and not until we see a bounce, not until we see price begin to recover. And if you spotted it like back here on February 21st and 22nd, if you spotted that and said, oh, that looks like it's building some strength, and then we watched this red candle here come in, to fake you out, and then after that, boom, just off to the races. So we're looking for something like that. I want to see today's candle be green. I want to see tomorrow's candle be green, and I want to see the next day show me something that isn't, an engulfing bearish candle, and then I'm going to start thinking it's back on. That's CleanSpark. Marathon, same sort of situation. Is it a fantastic buying opportunity? And the answer is maybe. I do think Mara will probably come to about 23 bucks. Unless we bounce right here and go on with a higher high, higher low pattern, which we have been forming. That'd be great. I would love it if we turn around here and it would do that. But currently I'm looking at potentially seeing it. Yeah, as you can see, just like on CleanSpark, we're getting real close to crossing over that yellow line. What is this line? Oh, that's another trend line. Oh yeah, that's the RSI divergence. That's playing out. Yeah. That green line's getting close to that yellow line. Now, if it doesn't cross it and price starts going back above that yellow line, it's not going to cross it, and that would be great. That'd be really good. The RSI is not looking bad right now. We're at 53, which is close to a 50 retracement, which could, lead to bounces. I want to see today's candle remain green. I want to see tomorrow's candle be a bit green, and then I'll start feeling like, okay, maybe tomorrow's back. Honestly, I want to see it get above this, which is the neckline for this head and shoulders over here. It gets above this green ascending trend line here, and then I'm very bullish on it. So that's sort of what's going on there. I think people are holding their breath. They're taking a moment. They got a little excited when these things dropped 20%, maybe a little too excited, probably bought dip a little too heavily. And now I think we're pausing and waiting to see what happens next before going back in on it or not. Now, I also got a comment yesterday about RIOT. I never cover RIOT. There's a reason I never cover RIOT, because I don't own RIOT. And if you own RIOT, that's fine. I don't dislike RIOT. It's just not one that I own. And I can show you why. So one of the biggest reasons I don't own RIOT is this right here. I'm going to go to Compass Mining here. So this is the June report from 2023. RIOT had 10.7, almost 11 exahash. And now let's go to January's, where they only increased it to 2.4, not even 20%. We're a month away from the halving, and RIOT has not increased their hash rate by even 20% yet. That's a problem for me. They have a great HODL, but other companies also have a great HODL. Other companies are also doubling their hash rate or more. CleanSpark now has 16 exahash. This is actually old. They've increased 60% just in February. In June of last year, they had 6. They have more than doubled. They are already more competitive than every other miner right now, CleanSpark is, because of their doubling of their hash rate. Because of, look, back in June, they only had 491 Bitcoin They have, I showed it in yesterday's video. They actually have more than this now. They have 4,200 Bitcoin. They have almost 10x their Bitcoin in just 8 months. How much did Riot have back then? Riot had 460. Now they have 7,000. That's actually pretty fantastic. They have a great hodl. I'm not going to complain about that any further. That was great. But I don't like their hash rate. I think their hash rate needs to improve. They also have issues with efficiency. They don't mine nearly as much Bitcoin as they could. As you can see, in January, CleanSpark with more than 20% less exahash mined more Bitcoin than Riot. Let's also look at like Mara. Mara back in June had only 17.7 exahash. Now they've got 26. They actually have more than that now. They're on their way. They haven't doubled, not like CleanSpark, so they're not as bullish in my mind because of that, or competitive in my mind because of that. But their hodl is pretty fantastic. And those earnings they had the other week should have sent them to the moon, and I'm still pretty salty about that. Well, I digress. Also, Bitfarms. Bitfarms had 5.3. They increased by about 20-ish%. They need to increase more, but they're going to because they have plans, they have orders in place to get them up to 20 exahash, which would put them above Riot. Like many of Riot's competitors are out competing them right now. So that's why I don't invest in Riot. If you do, if that's good for your investment plan, do it. That's your thing. I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm just here to explain what I'm doing in a way that is hopefully entertaining and enjoyable to listen to. And from there, it's for you to do your own research and make your own decisions. And if Riot is the decision that you come to, then that's totally fine. Um, so let's look here. Riot is showing, it looks a lot like the Mara chart, but with greater weakness because it's closer to this double bottom down here. I think Riot might come to that double bottom about $12 before starting to bounce. That's what I'm looking at on Riot. I think I see some demand zone down here from around 11 to 1150, so or well, I guess 12 to 1150 there in that, and that lines up with a lot of previous support back here that Riot likes to come back to. We also made a lower high over here on this high in February, and in February compared to December. That's not good. A lot of their competitors like Mara, as well as CleanSpark, as well as not CIFR, as well as Bitfarms even, they outdid their previous highs, whereas Riot did not. That's bearish in my mind. That's not, I mean, and this was a inverse head and shoulders right here that completely failed and broke down, like really failed bad. Like Mara's is still in play. Mara could still turn this around into a inverse head and shoulders. Riot can't. That's not an inverse head and shoulders anymore. It's gone almost all the way back to the bottom of the move. That is out. Not like back here. All right, this was a good inverse head and shoulders for Riot. Right here, you got a left shoulder right there, head right there, right shoulder right there. Neckline was at the top of this box. As soon as it broke that, we were off to the races. Amazing. But then we were followed immediately by head and shoulders on this side. We got a shoulder here, shoulder there, and then we went all the way back to the bottom of that move. I think we're going to probably go back to at least the top of this box, if not all the way back to this green line at $9 for Riot. Riot looks bearish in my mind from what I'm seeing on the chart. And again, this is not a suggestion to buy, sell, or hold any assets. It is not financial advice. It is for entertainment purposes only. But that's what I'm seeing when I look at this chart. Anyways, that's all I have for you today. CIFR turned in great earnings. There was no mention of the old accounting methods that would have probably actually made them unprofitable and sent even them into a cascading failure, just like all the other miners have been in for the last couple of weeks. Um, CleanSpark and Mara are on the verge of potentially turning around or breaking down to support because they're both sitting right on support. So we're watching for that bounce or for that retracement to support and then building some liquidity for a week or two and then coming back up. Again, Riot, I'm still looking for this to kind of crater a little further into this highest volume area down here between 12 and 1080, potentially even $9 if things get weak enough. They are also below the 50 RSI on the daily. I don't like that either. Mara and CleanSpark are not below that. CIFR's trying to come back above that level on the RSI. Let's just had to throw that in there. But with that said, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a profitable day.